1970s, the Mission District experienced an intense period due to political and cultural movements. The community organized political and cultural groups which called themselves cultural workers. The Neighborhood Arts Program, created in the 1960s to support the construction of the new Symphony Hall, grew more than expected and helped the Latino community find the way to have a venue for their own culture.
When the community sees you working out there, they will support you. Todo empezó pues así, because we start bringing them out here. Then they saw, well, wait a minute, we don't have to just do it as a temporary patch. This is what. So then they continued, got their degrees, but come back and fortalecieron los programas. And then came the cultural center también después. We started, it was the same period, 76, 75, that we began to look for other possibilities. And again, we used HUD monies, Housing Urban Development, and we saw a creative way of using it for building spaces, for our building spaces. But it had to be a city entity. So we said, okay, good, the Neighborhood Arts Program, boom, we got that, we funneled it in there. We start using that to purchase those buildings through HUD.
We had the option to buy 4 different buildings, but we bought this one, which was a furniture store, because it had the characteristics that we were looking for. Basically, a first floor that could accommodate a theater, then a second floor, which then was a mezzanine that we tried to arrange as a gallery, and then the third floor, which had storage spaces that could be accommodated, like for dance and music and graphics arts that was very popular in the Mission District at that time. We thought that San Francisco needed a venue that really addressed the whole spectrum of Latino migration here, which is not only Mexican or Chicano, it's Central American and Latino. Little by little, we were emphasizing the Latin arts, but it wasn't until about a year or a year and a half afterwards that it really caught on with the first Day of the Dead exhibition and everything. We really started to align most Latin artists other than different people.
On the first floor, which is now the theater, there were community gatherings, theatrical performances, and musical events produced by the Music Committee.
Francisco Tovar, Luis Medina, Carlos Gallardo, Enrique Fernandez, and there were other members that were not directly involved in the coordination of the type of events that we were to carry on, but indirectly were actively seeking the music, practicing the music, and performing at times as well. What we started with was the idea of a series of concerts. We had some very, very talented youngsters that participated. Some of the outstanding ones are currently recording artists, well-known musicians, Latin music, such as Johnny Calloway, Rebecca Monleon, John Santos, and many, many, many others. Our intent was to promote Latin music, but at the same time incorporate artists and musicians that needed a place to rehearse and express that type of music. Another idea was the idea of being able to take our music and share it with other community centers.
Other ways to promote Latino culture was through Gráfica.
We started producing leaflets, flyers, posters, and eventually we got into publications, El Tecolote, and we invited them to come and join us and take use the facilities. It was a time of great turmoil, lots of energy, and an incredible amount of participation.
The women's participation came from the different organizations already in motion, happening in the mission. Culture came as a natural to us because many of us drew or were part of the spoken word movement. We're in solidarity with many things that were going on with the vets coming back from Vietnam. Also, dictatorships all over the world that the United States had said affected us personally because of Anastasio Somoza in Nicaragua. With the vets coming back, we had this consciousness of what war and relief of that war meant, and coming to the mission at that time was also the right to be who you were, and part of that was having ethnic pride. And so in that ethnic pride, we decided that the best way to get it out there without, causing ourselves any more violence or pain was creativity.
My job was to be the coordinator of programming and workshops, and we began a very ambitious plan of having weekend programs as well as programs almost every night. So it was very tough and hard considering that we didn't have the right facilities to be doing something of that nature. Carnaval was an event that began to be organized technically in Presida Park in the streets. There were many congueros, many drummers that would get together and practice there with dancers, and it was people like Adela Chu, for example, who was a dancer and also had a workshop at the Mission Cultural Center with Marcus Gordon and Gloria Tulsi, who also had workshops at the center, who began to organize the Carnaval. The events of El Día de los Muertos, in this case the Day of the Dead, it began also with work between the Mission Cultural Center, Galería de la Raza, the work of many other people who were involved at the time, including Carlos Baron and his theater groups that he had in conjunction with San Francisco State University and the Mission Cultural Center, that began to organize many elements of the procession. San Francisco poets have always had a very important history of commitment to revolutionary movements, and we had many individuals who came to the Cultural Center on a regular basis to do poetry readings. Poets that included Lawrence Ferlinghetti, Janice Mercatani. We had people coming in from various places, from New York, the New Eurekan poets, Miguel Piñero, and many others actually came to the center and they participated with us.
Who blessed the Mission Cultural Center was the poet from Nicaragua, Ernesto Cardenal. At that time, the Sandinistas had taken power recently in Nicaragua, and he used to come over to seek solidarity with the Sandinistas. And he was a good friend of Alejandro Murguia and Roberto Arias, who had fought in the Frente Sur.
1 year after the founding of the center, Alfonso Maciel created its logo, Tezcatlipoca, a young Aztec jaguar who represented anti-establishment art. This matched the spirit of resistance of the center. Later on, a jaguar found its place on the mural painted by Carlos Loarca, Betsy Miller, and Manuel Villamor. Thanks to the support of people committed to Latino culture, the Mission Cultural Center has developed throughout these 25 years and has been providing cultural services to the community.
The Mission Cultural Center, through the years, has worked and collaborated with us in many different ways, particularly in the area of AIDS services. They've always opened their space for our different activities, for Mr. and Ms. Gay, Latino, for exposiciones. And so this is a place to find healing. So I see it also as a place of health.
We met with the staff of the Mission Cultural Center in 1981, as I recall. They were there when we needed them. We had a show there of the work that was done. We needed to have a place to work where the people could do the work. They were very nice and gracious about it all the way through.
The Mission Cultural Center has been a wonderful part of my development as retiring and then transitioning into being ballet education coordinator with the San Francisco Ballet. Now I have the opportunity to really go out into the community and to instill in our children, who are our future, the love of dance, the love of movement, the love of being able to express oneself beyond words.
Mission has been particularly successful at really getting community support and ownership. The building is moving day and night. Wisely, the city has realized that investment into the cultural centers, into Mission Cultural Center, does so much to serve the community that the investment is paid back multiple times with services becoming sort of a beacon for the community.
I think it's important to realize when we talk about starting the Mission Cultural Center that it was a very broad-based community movement that involved not just artists and filmmakers and dancers and musicians, but other community people, whether they were in other fields, who saw the importance of us getting such a key site like where we're at now. The greatest example of the community coming together and achieving something of lasting permanence is what the mission community El Barrio La Misión did back in 1975 and 76 and 77 to achieve the realization of this dream of a cultural center that had in fact been a dream for decades, and a good example of what a community pulling together can achieve.
Bye.